Welcome to our channel where today we're diving into a critical and sobering topic: 9 deadly mistakes that cost lives during disasters. Our journey will take us through the perilous paths of common errors and oversights, shedding light on the tragic consequences of underestimating the power of nature and the importance of preparedness. From ignoring evacuation orders to risking safety for possessions, it's crucial to be aware of these pitfalls. Understanding these is not just about fear, it's about preparation and prevention. First up, we have the grave mistake of ignoring evacuation orders. You might think that evacuation warnings are overly cautious or that you've weathered storms before without needing to leave your home. But underestimating these early warnings is a perilous error. Evacuation orders are issued by professionals who understand the severity of the impending disaster. These experts have access to data and predictive models that the average citizen does not, and their primary concern is preserving human life. Ignoring these directives can put you and potentially rescue workers in unnecessary danger. It's easy to believe that the worst won't happen or that you can ride out the storm. But disasters are unpredictable by nature. What seems manageable can quickly escalate to a life-threatening situation. And when that happens, it's often too late to escape. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that because you've survived previous disasters, you'll be safe this time around. Every disaster is different, and past success does not guarantee future survival. Remember, material possessions can be replaced, but your life cannot. The safest course of action is always to follow the advice of the experts and evacuate when advised. Regrettably, history is filled with stories of individuals who made the fatal mistake of not heeding evacuation orders. Let's learn from their experiences. Ignoring evacuation orders can be a fatal mistake, so always heed these warnings. Next is the lack of preparedness. It's a deadly mistake that has claimed countless lives in the face of disaster. Picture this: a storm is brewing, the winds are howling, and you're scrambling to gather supplies, only to realize that you're woefully underprepared. This is not the time to realize you lack the essentials. Lack of preparedness extends beyond just physical supplies. It also includes the absence of a well-laid plan. When disaster strikes, your mind is a whirlwind of fear and adrenaline. It's not the time to be making crucial decisions. Having a pre-established plan can make the difference between life and death. Think about it. Do you know the quickest route out of your home in case of a fire, or the location of the nearest safe shelter during a hurricane? Are you aware of the emergency procedures in your area? If you hesitated to answer any of these questions, you might want to reconsider your preparedness level. Emergency kits should be comprehensive and personalized. They should include first aid supplies, food, water, shelter, tools, and even comfort items. Remember, a disaster can strike at any time and can last longer than you might expect. Poor planning can lead to disastrous results. Always be prepared. It's a simple mantra that rings true in every disaster scenario. So let's pledge to be proactive, to plan ahead, to assemble those emergency kits, and to familiarize ourselves with our surroundings and emergency procedures. Being prepared is not just about surviving. It's about ensuring the safety and well-being of yourself and your loved ones. Third, we have misunderstanding the environment. Let's face it, the world around us is fraught with potential dangers that we often overlook. Whether it's living in a flood zone without knowing it, or building homes on top of earthquake faults, a lack of awareness about our immediate surroundings can be a deadly mistake. Imagine the devastation of a flash flood sweeping through your home in the dead of night, all because you weren't aware that your house was built in a flood zone, or the sheer terror of the ground splitting beneath your feet because you didn't know your neighborhood was on an active seismic fault line. Beyond the natural hazards, think about the man-made ones. Are you aware of the locations of nuclear power plants, chemical factories, or heavy industrial zones near your home? Any of these could pose serious threats in a disaster scenario. Understanding your environment is key to survival. Fourth, we have inadequate sheltering. Let's delve into some unfortunate instances where inadequate or improper sheltering during storms, earthquakes, or other events led to fatalities. Imagine a storm, with winds howling like a pack of wolves and rain pounding like a drum. In such a scenario, a flimsy tent or an unstable structure simply won't cut it. It's a harsh truth, but many lives have been tragically lost due to the lack of proper shelter. Similarly, during earthquakes, a poorly constructed building can crumble like a house of cards, burying hope under a pile of rubble. It's not just about having a roof over your head, it's about having a safe, sturdy, and secure shelter that can withstand the wrath of Mother Nature. Remember, when disaster strikes, your first line of defense is your shelter. It can shield you from the elements, protect you from harm, and give you a fighting chance to survive. Sheltering properly can mean the difference between life and death. Fifth, we have delaying action until it's too late. When disaster strikes, it's human nature to freeze up, to hesitate, to hope it's not as bad as it seems. But let's be real. In a crisis, every second counts. Hesitation can cost you precious time, and inaction can cost you your life. Think of a house fire. You smell smoke, but you wait to see flames before calling the fire department. By then, it might be too late to escape. Or imagine a flood warning. You're told to evacuate, but you decide to wait and see. By the time the water's at your doorstep, it's too late to leave safely. The key is to act immediately, to heed warnings, and take decisive action. Don't wait for the situation to worsen. In a disaster, time is not on your side. The sooner you respond, the better your chances of survival. Acting promptly can save your life. Sixth, we have overconfidence in personal abilities. This is a treacherous pitfall that many fall into. We all like to fancy ourselves as budding survivalists, brimming with grit and resolve. But disasters are not the time to play hero or test our mettle. It's the time to be realistic, cautious, and strategic. Without the right gear, knowledge, and experience, even the strongest and bravest among us can falter in the face of a calamity. Overestimating one's abilities can lead to hasty decisions, poor judgment, and unnecessary risks. It's not about being the fittest or the bravest, it's about being the wisest. Remember, survival is a game of endurance, not a sprint. It's about making the right decisions, not the most daring ones, and it's about knowing your limitations, not pushing them. Overconfidence can lead to catastrophic outcomes. Seventh, we have forgetting to stockpile water. A miscalculation many tend to make is underestimating the amount of water needed during a disaster. It's easy to overlook, but water is a basic necessity. We use it for drinking, cooking, hygiene, and even first aid. When disaster strikes and municipal water systems fail, your stored water is your lifeline. Think about it. On an average day, each person uses around 100 gallons of water. In a crisis, you can pare that down to a bare minimum of 1 gallon per person per day. That's for drinking and basic sanitation alone. If you're a family of 4, in just 1 week, you'll need at least 28 gallons stored away. The crucial point here is, don't skimp on water when preparing for a disaster. It's not just about quenching thirst, it's about maintaining health and life itself. Water is essential for survival. Never underestimate its importance. Eighth, we have mishandling electrical systems. Now, this is a common error that can lead to severe injuries or even worse, fatalities. Electricity is a powerful force, and attempting to mess with it without the proper knowledge or safety measures? Well, that's a recipe for disaster. Imagine a power outage during a storm and you decide to make a quick fix. There's a high chance you might end up causing more harm than good. You see, electrical systems are complex, and they require trained expertise to handle safely. Now, you might think you know what you're doing because you've changed a light bulb before. But trust me, it's not the same. The risks are far greater and the consequences can be dire. So, when faced with an electrical issue during a disaster, it's best to leave it to the professionals. Mishandling electrical systems can be deadly. Ninth and final, we have risking safety for possessions. It's a treacherous trap that many fall into when disaster strikes. The instinct to protect what's ours can be overwhelming, but the stark reality is that possessions can be replaced. Lives cannot. The value of a life is immeasurable and cannot be compared to any material item, no matter how sentimental or expensive. Think about what's truly important. Would you risk your life for a flat-screen TV or endanger yourself for a piece of jewelry? When disaster strikes, safety should be your top priority. Don't allow the fear of losing material possessions cloud your judgment and put your life at risk. In the heat of the moment, remember that people are more important than things. Your life, your family's lives are priceless. Don't risk them for replaceable possessions. Your life is more important than any possession. We've covered the 9 deadly mistakes that can turn a survivable situation into a tragedy. We've seen the danger of ignoring evacuation orders, underestimating the potential severity of impending disasters. We've underscored the importance of planning and preparedness because when disaster strikes, it's too late to wish you had an emergency kit or a plan of action. We've delved into the fatal consequences of misunderstanding your environment, of not knowing the risks inherent to your local area. We've examined the dire outcomes of inadequate sheltering, reminding us all that proper protection against the elements can mean the difference between life and death. We've discussed the perils of delaying action until it's too late, emphasizing the importance of immediate response in crisis situations. We've cautioned against overconfidence in personal abilities because in the face of a disaster, overestimation can be just as dangerous as lack of preparedness. We've reminded everyone of the crucial need to stockpile water, as dehydration can quickly become a deadly foe. We've warned about the risks of mishandling electrical systems, a task that should be left to professionals even in the most desperate of times. And lastly, we've reinforced the principle that life is more valuable than possessions, urging against risking safety for material items. Remember, the key to disaster survival often lies not just in the actions you take, but also in the missteps you avoid. Let's learn, prepare, and ensure we and our loved ones stay safe. Thanks for watching. We hope you found this guide insightful and beneficial. If so, show some love by hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and sharing this video to help others stay safe. We value your feedback and would love to hear your thoughts. Got questions? We're here to answer. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or any questions. Stay prepared, stay vigilant, and keep tuning in for more survival tips and strategies.